Are you using ChatGPT for your business? Is ChatGPT the only model that you use? And are you using the paid version or the free version? Because when we're talking generative AI and the kind of results you're getting, these kind of questions matter. So if you're using it for client work, like research or proposal creation or data analysis, even brainstorming, you might not be getting the best possible results. And worst case scenario, it might not be giving you the most up to date information. Well, unless you know what to ask. So, look, in this episode, I'm going to tell you the best AI model to use for the most common things you do in your business, like analysis, brainstorming, and content creation. And we're also going to talk about why, if you're using the same model for all of your work, it's going to put you behind the people who are matching the model to the task. I'm Laura Zovelson, and this is the GenXpert Show, where we talk about the AI tools and trends that matter to small independent businesses like yours. I'm going to help you stay on top of the deluge of information so you can get and keep more clients and take back your nights and weekends. So every week, we're going to explore how you can increase your value to your clients and save 4 to 8 hours a week. So if that sounds good to you, hit the subscribe button, grab your favorite beverage. Let's get started. So when ChatGPT first blew up, I think I did what pretty much everybody else did, right? I grabbed that free version, I played with prompts that I found on the internet. I got some interesting results, and I actually found some interesting business use cases for it that started to save me a little bit of time. And actually, if you're interested in how you can go beyond content creation with AI, I recommend you watch the video right here. But anyway, if you're following a path like mine, you probably think the results from AI are interesting, but not quite good enough to really help you save time or delivering results when it really matters, like when you're delivering client results, right? So, if you've upgraded to the paid version, congratulations, you're in good company. A report from Ramp Labs estimates that about 42% of all businesses in the US are paying for some kind of AI tools and platforms right now. If you take nothing else away from this video today, I really do want to convince you that you need to start accessing paid AI tools. You're just going to get that much better answers, and you need the most current version of these tools in order to get really good results. Now, I personally subscribe to 4 tools: ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Gemini 2.5 Pro, or Gemini. Now, you get access to Gemini through your Google Workspace subscription. So if you're already using Google for Business, like for your email calendar and Google Drive, you probably already have access to the Gemini 2.5 Pro model, and you might not even be aware of it or using it. So know that you have that. Now, you might not need all 4. It really depends on your focus area, your niche. But I do think you need access to at least 2. And which 2 is what the rest of the video is going to help you figure out. So what we're going to do today is take a look at which AI models are best for which kind of work tasks. And I think the easiest way to break it down is to really look at the core functions that we do for our clients and for our own businesses. So as I sat down to do my research, I came up with kind of 12 core task areas that we use in our businesses. But I didn't want this video to turn into a marathon. So for this one, we're actually going to focus on those 6 buckets that you see on the left-hand side of your screen. So what I found over the last year of really doing a deep dive in AI and really trying to use it for different parts of my business is that one model does not fit all tasks. What I found is some models actually follow directions better than other ones. Some have more hallucinations. That's where they make stuff up. Some are more optimistic than others. They'll suck up to you more, which makes them more fun to talk to. But I think it's a little concerning if you're trying to make strategic decisions or make client recommendations, right? You want a thought partner, not a yes bot. So, in order to give this analysis enough structure to actually be useful, because I am sick of seeing those infographics on LinkedIn where they've got like 7-point font and they recommend 7 models for everything that you could possibly be doing. Those made me crazy. So, look, I narrowed it down to 4 tools, and I'm going to recommend 1 tool for each task area. Does that sound good? So let's take a super quick look at the tools that I'm going to recommend. So here are the 4 tools that we're going to be talking about today. And do take note of which model I have on there, because there actually is a fair amount of performance variation from tool to tool. So today we're talking about ChatGPT 4.0, Perplexity, Claude Opus 4 or Claude Sonnet 4, and then Gemini 2.5 Pro. Okay. Now, if it's not a huge investment to have the paid subscription to one or two of these, or even all four, and the difference in the quality of your results is going to be pretty significant. Okay, so let's just get down to which tool you should be using for each kind of task. And by the way, if you just want my cheat sheet for all of this, it's down in the description. You can grab that and just keep it near you when you're working, and then you'll always know which one to match with which. Okay, so let's start with content and communication, which is probably what you're using AI the most for right now. So for this one, ChatGPT 4.0 actually is the clear winner. It's really good at matching tone, producing on-brand content, and it does a pretty good job of following directions, like if you give it context and an objective before you start to write. So this is the tool that you want to use to handle your marketing copy, your proposals, your client communication and reports. It's really good with contextual understanding, and it's the one that you have the best shot of getting to sound like you and not like an AI bot. Okay, next up, let's talk about something I know I spend a ton of time on in my business, and you probably do in yours as well, and that is research and information gathering. So, for this one, you're actually going to want to use Perplexity, and here's why. Perplexity stands out for its ability to do live web search and to give citation backed answers. And so that makes it really ideal if you're doing market research or if you're doing trend analysis. Let me give you an example about why this is so important. So I was working with Claude, another model, for this exact episode, and I was asking its advice for various tools and tasks. And when it gave me the list back, I noticed it didn't include Gemini 2.5 Pro for any of the tasks, but it referenced an older Gemini model. And so I said, why didn't you recommend Gemini 2.5 Pro for anything? And then it went out to the web and it did some research and it came back and it changed its answer. So the reason this happens is we need to think of these models like really large libraries. They're trained on huge amounts of data, but that data is finite. Now, you can send the tool out to like go get a newspaper and find out what's going on in the outside world and come back and tell you. Some of the models can do that. Claude can do that, but it hasn't been trained on that. And so, unless you know to ask that question to some of these other models, you're not going to necessarily be sure you're getting the most up to date information. And that's where Perplexity really shines in being able to sort of access the web real time. So, Perplexity, when you need current research, and that's why I actually think this one is a must have in addition to Chat GPT 4.0 for anybody who does consulting or agency work. Now, this next bucket is project and task management. And for this one, I think just go ahead and keep using ChatGPT 4.0. I think any of the models can get this done for you, but I can personally vouch for GPT 4.0 for deconstructing kind of a large, complex goal into a detailed step by step project plan or checklist. But I will say this is one of those times where you really need to pay attention to your instructions to get the best results. And as I said, some of the models follow instructions better than others. I was creating a custom bot and I was trying to use like the ChatGPT 3 model. So, what you would get if you were using the free version. And it would not give me the result the way I wanted it to. All I wanted it to do was put like these bullet points on different lines, wouldn't do it. And I kept adjusting the instructions. It wouldn't do it. It wouldn't do it. I switched to 4.0. It did it right away. So just be aware that like if you are not getting quite the results or the formatting you're looking for one model, it's nice to have another model as backup. So far, I've really only recommended two models, right? ChatGPT 4.0 and Perplexity. But for this next task area, this is where I want you to really consider checking out Claude, and that is for analysis and synthesis. So Claude really wasn't on my radar at all, but my husband is a programmer and he was using it extensively and getting really good results. And so I decided to see what it could do. So what I did, I asked it to analyze a bunch of customer insight interviews that I had done. So it did an amazing job surfacing insights and making a huge amount of information useful. So if part of what you do is make sense of a lot of disparate information or data, it's worth seeing what Claude might be able to add to your perspective or your viewpoint. Okay, so our last two task buckets here are brainstorming and strategy, and then planning and execution. And so if you think about it, those two buckets together sort of represent the entire business continuum, right? So ideation feeds brainstorming, you feed that with research and creative thinking, and then you pick the best path, and then you get it done. So I could actually recommend all the tools for all of those things, but I promised you one tool for each bucket. And so I'm going to make a recommendation, but this is where I think having access to multiple paid models and combining the answers can yield really amazing results. So I've been using this multi-model approach as I've been developing this new product I'm working on. So I asked three different models to help me create the MVP, the minimum viable product for that. And I was able to then combine ideas from all three of them to create something that I'm really excited about. But if I had to pick just one for brainstorming and ideation, I'd probably go with Gemini 2.5 Pro, but that's because I have it with Google Workspace. I think ChatGPT 4.0 is almost as good, and honestly, it really is a little bit more fun to talk to. But you probably have to push it a little harder to get it out of the box. It tends to run everything towards the middle. With Google 2.5, I found some more kind of outlier ideas just for brainstorming purposes. Now, if you're going to pick up Claude anyway, adding Claude here can be great for depth and for comparison. But if I had to just pick one, it's actually Gemini 2.5 Pro because it consistently offers more details and kind of greater variation of ideas. So our last bucket is planning and execution. And what you really want is something that has advanced reasoning. So it can take a lot of information and break it down step by step. And I think for the reasons I mentioned earlier, the best tool for that is ChatGPT 4.0. Now I'd say Gemini is really good at roadmaps, particularly on the technical side. So depending on your niche, you could lean that way. But again, I promised you one tool for each bucket. And for this one, I think Chat actually is the winner. So again, if you want to download the cheat sheet that has my number one pick for all of these use cases, you can go ahead and grab that in the description or the show notes. Okay. Okay, I know this has been a super lot today, but I have just a couple more insights for you before we wrap up. First of all, if you ask ChatGPT 4.0 the same questions that I just went through here today, it is not going to mention Gemini 2.5 Pro as a solution for any of them. And I thought that was pretty funny. So I asked it for, I ran my list by it, I asked it for its list, and no Gemini 2.5 Pro. So I pressed it. I said, why didn't you include that on its list? It gave me all these reasons why, it's not a good tool, blah, blah, blah. But when I asked Claude and Perplexity the same thing, they agreed with me about where Gemini 2.5 Pro's strengths are. So clearly there's some instructions or something going on with OpenAI that I actually think is pretty entertaining. But look, this also gives us insight to the idea that these tools are not just analyzing data, they're developing opinions. And so it's okay to disagree with them. And again, another great reason that you need to have at least two tools running. Finally, again, back to what I said in the very beginning, I really do hope your main takeaway from this is that as an independent consultant or agency owner, if you're starting to add AI into your workflows, don't take chances with the unpaid versions and just, limiting yourself to one model. I want you to act like these are a group of really smart interns and put them to work using their strengths. Okay. So we covered a lot today. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. I really do read them. I really do answer. And if you want to keep talking about how you can strategically integrate AI into your business, I would love it if you give me a like and subscribe. I drop new videos every Thursday. So for now, I'm ready to give my AI interns a rest for the day and use the time I saved to go hang out with my people. And if you've got time, I hope you'll do the same. See you later, alligators, and I'll see you next time.